Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining our webinar today on transforming your financial operations with Use and BAASS and Sage. Just a quick bit of housekeeping. You will receive a copy of the slides after the presentation along with the recording. We kindly ask you that you fill out our survey afterwards just to let us know how we did so we can improve in future webinars. Just a quick agenda today. We'll go through the speaker introductions. We'll look at the state of the NFP industry in Canada. Then we'll take a look at our donor behavior and then improving return on mission investment, followed by a short Q&A session. So I'd like now to introduce our speakers today. We have David Rumer with us, the Area VP of Canadian Partners and Accountants at Sage Canada. We have Jarod Moss, the Central Region Head for Views AP Automation. Thanks for joining, Jarod.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Dave. Glad to be here with you too.
My name is Steve Engel, and I'm with BAASS Business Solutions. So now I'll ask Jarod, maybe if you could just maybe give us a short introduction about yourself and Use.
Yep. So I'm Jarod Moss. So my official title is the Sage Head of Sales here at Use. So I know it said Central, but that's a legacy title I'm working to get fixed now. But Use, we are focused on AP automation in the cloud, especially for our NFPs out there. Our focus is to give you better compliance, security, processing invoices much faster, much cleaner, and really allow you to be able to reinvest more back into your mission.
That's great. Hey, Dave, I wonder if you could give us just a quick introduction and a little bit about Sage.
Absolutely. We at Sage, we've been operating in Canada for close to 30 years. We've got hundreds of thousands of customers and probably close to over 2,000, 2,500 nonprofit customers in Canada alone. What has been very exciting over the last 3.5 years is to actually work with nonprofits and supporting organizations to help these Canadian nonprofits through the digital transformation journey, as well as to realize the benefits that come with financial management modernization. And what we're seeing is many of these Canadian nonprofits are adopting Sage Intacct as their platform, which ties together the people, process, and the technology. So we can talk a little bit about Sage Intacct and how it is supporting different areas. But super excited today to be joining and having the opportunity to talk about the Sage Canada 2024 Nonprofit Technology Trends Reports.
That's great. Thanks, Dave. Yeah, and that technology report I know is something that Sage has done for a couple years now, and it really captures the perspectives of, I think, about 120 Canadian finance leaders across the not-for-profit sector. So we'll be diving into that to just kind of look at the results and hopefully get some feedback from our audience to see how their experiences compare and if that's if they're all aligned there. So we'll dig in with our first poll question here. If I could just pop that up. So with our audience, we'd love to get your feedback on how far along you are in your organizational digital transformation journey. We'll just close that and we can just move on to what the results were from the Sage survey. So when we looked at that survey, we see that, digital first, there was about 18% of organizations that have moved there. So I guess my question to Jarod and Dave then is, when you're encountering new organizations, at what point do you find them in their digital transformation journey? So Jarod, maybe I'll go to you first then.
Yeah, so mainly what we find when we're first, working with clients like this is a lot of them don't know what digital transformation even is. And that's a kind of a journey that they're all along that path, and everybody's at unique steps, as you can see based on this survey here. And so the first part is really understanding what is it, what is it, and then how can it affect each and every single region of your business or your charity or whatever you're forming. And so we find most of them are kind of at those very early stages, or they don't really know a ton about what it truly means. And I think it's kind of fun to be able to go through and talk and bring Sage into conversations and bring BAASS into conversations and take those next steps into how it can actually deliver an impact for them and what it really delivers to what they're trying to do.
Yeah, so yeah,
Great.
just to demystify, and Steve, the survey results are not super surprising to me from where Canadian organizations are at in the digital transformation journey. You have some one of our customers and also a BAASS customer is United Way of Greater Toronto, and they took a very serious scaling approach to digital transformation. And you've got others that we've worked with through the Sage Foundation that are really just understanding, as Jarod said, what does digital transformation mean? And what I want to do right now is demystify digital transformation because it is not that difficult to understand. It really is the confluence of your people, the processes within your nonprofit organization, underpinned by technology to automate that. So when it refers in this particular area in modernizing finance operations for nonprofit, it really is giving your people the number one asset, the ability to increase their value and to automate the processes digitally. And this is all done and underpinned by technology. So, using a cloud-based modern financial management system, a reporting system, an analytics system, a system that will allow you, like Sage Intacct does, is to actually have metrics that matter, return on mission, and to really tie the mission to the impact that the organizations, the nonprofit organizations are having in the marketplace. And that really puts the finance leaders in an ability to drive change within the organization, to increase transparency, accountability, and strategy, and really have that return on mission. And what happens is when you're able to measure the impact, all of a sudden the storytellers, the fundraisers within the organization are in a much better position to succeed and drive revenue to allow a nonprofit to sustain their mission and their purpose.
That's great, Dave. Yeah, so that's interesting. You mentioned, finance being sort of at the forefront of some of that digital transformation, which, I think is really no surprise when we kind of look at the next sort of data point there of, which processes are not-for-profits digitizing first. So we see that finance is up there leading the way, which I think, creates a great opportunity, like you say, for the finance position to assist other parts of the organization and teach them best practices for that digital transformation journey.
So yeah, all of these are very important, and at some point in time, yes, finance seems to be at the highest because what you're able to do with solutions like Sage Intacct or modern financial management system is tied together financial and non-financial data, and that really speaks to the entire organization. So no longer is the finance group custodians of historical finance data, but they're actually sharing this information and the knowledge. And as we all know, knowledge speaks, but wisdom listens. Jarod, I know that Hughes is very involved in automating, accounts payable, and would love to hear some of the stories that you have. It's just fascinating, the productivity and the time savings.
Yeah, what we're seeing is, we have clients today that where maybe they're running into an AP process or AP system where they're using 3, 4, 5 different people to manually key this data and this data information into their system. Being able to take that and take them down to one person, then allowing those 3 extra people now, what can they do to support the mission? Can they go to help, go collect funds? Can they go help do fundraising? Can they help support events? They can take the people and really give them more to do at a higher level versus just kind of just doing standard data entry. That really, the reason they came to be a part of that mission and that group wasn't to enter data into a system, right? They came to deliver an impact to whatever that mission is. And so that's really where our tool comes in, is giving them time back to do more that helps deliver value.
That's fantastic. So just now, if we kind of shift gears a little to move on to, be curious to find out from our panel here and from the attendees what they've seen in terms of funding changes over the past 12 months. Now that we've come out of the pandemic, things are sort of returning to normal. Just see where they're at. So we'll launch the poll here. So now if we look and we compare those results to the broader industry, within Sage, from the Sage survey, we could see that that's, I think maybe our audience is a little optimistic here. But yeah, again, curious to know, Darren and Jay, when you're speaking with the organizations, and they're coming to you with their challenges, are they coming to you because they have additional funding now they're looking to do the projects, or are they coming looking because, hey, we have a shortfall in our operational revenue and we need to find different ways that we can save some costs? So Jay, maybe I'll turn to you first.
Yeah. On our side, we see both. We see people from an increase in revenue standpoint, they're looking for ways to manage it a little bit more efficiently. So as they're paying those invoices that are coming in, they can deliver more impactful reporting and financial statements. They can, give more visibility to their donors on what's actually happening and occurring and how they're actually spending what they're bringing in. But on the decrease side is people looking for how can I get more value out of what we're doing, what we're utilizing today. So, I think we see both sides of that because at the end of the day, what it's really about is ensuring that every dollar that you can save goes right back into helping out with what you're trying to accomplish, whatever your goals and your vision is for your mission. We want to make sure that you have that flexibility. So we see both sides of it, and both people come to us with both the increase and the challenge of decreases.
Excuse me, looking at the registrants and the attendees of this webinar, Steve, I'm not surprised that the majority of the people are seeing a rise in the funding. Each one of them that I know of in there has a very, very strong mission statement and impact that they're driving. But when you look at fundraising, I think donor retention is being recognized as being as equal or even more important than acquisition, is retaining those donors, because what's happening is there's a stronger importance of recurring giving and even recurring giving on a monthly basis. Virtual fundraising has also gone to another level, driven by obviously the pandemic, but and the third part is cause marketing. So you're seeing corporations, as I think it's another part of the survey, that believe in a cause, and it's important for a nonprofit to make that connection point. But it's all underpinned, as Jarod has talked about, and what I talked about earlier, by having the right systems in place and financial management systems to be able to do fund accounting, to be able to have visibility into a multi-entity nonprofit organization, and to be able to have grant tracking and billing. So actually track at the fund level, whether it's federal government or whether it's private donors. A lot of them are interested in seeing the return and the direct impact that their money is having. And that is all possible, and that is all automated now.
That's fantastic work. Yeah. So I'm as we move on here, the next kind of question that was asked was, where are the areas of that funding has changed? So we can see, a lot of, government funding and individual giving. So a lot of it's stayed the same over those past 12 months. And then flipping to the other side of the programs that are being offered, a lot of those we see, again, the cost of those programs increasing, participation for the programs, also that demand is increasing, and the number of programs. So I think here really, I think it's for the finance team. I mean, Jarod, I'd be curious to see your experiences, the way that yous can help maybe ease some of these burdens that a lot of not-for-profits are facing.
Yeah, I think the huge one here, from both the use and Sage side, is the cost of programs. Being able to effectively track where the money is being spent, to really get an understanding and real-time visibility into where the money is going for civic peace. I think the biggest concerns people have is that they start these different grants or programs, and as they start them and they get moving with them, they lose track of what spend was associated to it. And so then as they lose the track, they wind up going way over what they had hoped to spend, which then has multiple effects downstream on the other types of programs, what they can allocate. And then they wind up, scrambling to try to see if they can get additional funds in to cover those much needed other programs they want to offer. So tools like Use and Sage Intacct really can help get that spend under control and define where it's being spent at, so they understand where, how each and every program is actually, driving, and what's coming out of the revenue.
Dave, is there anything that you wanted to add there in terms of, Sage's role in there and either, affecting that participation in programs, the number of programs, the cost?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, nonprofits want to do more and more and more, and it's important, that they do such a tremendous job in society, helping, in different areas for sure. It's important to, I think, as a nonprofit, is to be fiscally responsible and compliant, and try to keep your administration costs between 9 and 12%. Is really the benchmark that people are going through. And then there's the cost of the actual programs. And so, part of what digital transformation is about is automating processes, mass automation of accounts payables, accounts receivables, closing of the books, going through audits. All of this is automated now. And so what that means is the people within the Office of Finance are much more productive because they're not spending their time, in Excel or, doing manual processes. It's automated. So they're able to deliver higher finance strategy, as well as insights that really matter to enable the nonprofit organizations that they're working in to make smarter decisions. And once again, it's not just financial data, but it's tying together the non-financial and what's driven out of there. And so, there's the cost, but there's also the impact, which I say, if you can you can demonstrate impact in a simplistic and empathetic way. I think it's a very, very powerful mechanism for fundraising. And as we know, or as you know, Sage Intacct also has a fundraising component to it as well. Sage Intacct fundraising powered by Donor Perfect. So, it really does tie in the full picture along with Use as well.
Which is great, which sort of leads us to kind of our next poll question there is, along those lines of funding and additional programs, what are the top 3 organizations that our audience, that you have for this year? So we'll launch that poll. So are you looking to expand your existing programs? Are you looking to launch new programs? Is it improve your internal systems, increasing your brand awareness? So if we look then at the broader survey, those priorities, we can see nearly half of them is, expanding existing programs seems to be from our broader group what was of interest. And then improving the internal systems was number 2, which was, the favorite here amongst the audience. So just wondering, from both Dave and Jarod, I mean, is this aligned? I mean, when you're talking to the accounting finance teams, are they looking to improve their internal systems? Obviously, that's why I'm guessing typically they're reaching out.
It is. Yeah, that's usually the number one reason.
Yeah. So my suggestion for Canadian nonprofits is identify a partner that you trust and someone who who understands the nonprofit sector. That could provide the right internal systems for you, and whether it's a financial management system, whether it's a CRM system, whether it's ability to do social media more effectively, and look no further than BAASS Business Solutions. I've had the good fortune of working with Joe Arnone and the entire team at BAASS, and they've got at least 2,000 nonprofit customers across Canada, whether it's in the Indigenous sector, whether it's in the community living sector, or whether it's organizations like United Ways across Canada, or even things like organizations like Ontario Trillium Foundation. And of course, one of your Sage Intacct customers is Community Foundations of Canada, so very instrumental in government giving as well. So I think, I think you guys have certainly proven yourselves over the many years of working and serving Canadian companies. So a big shout out to BAASS Business Solutions.
That's great. Thanks, Dave. Um, yeah, so if we move on, then, I think it's great. Everyone kind of has their priorities set, but then we all realize that internally, there are challenges and barriers to overcome. So it'd be interesting to hear from our audience in terms of, what are those top three barriers that are affecting their ability to achieve their priorities. So we'll see here. Is it an issue with conflicting priorities, a lack of financial resources, a lack of staff, different time management? I think we all have a lot to do these days. Or are there structural issues within the organization that may need to be overcome first? So now if we look at the broader survey again, lack of staff was the top of that list. And I don't think we can help overcome all the barriers here, but I mean, I would be interested to know, from Jarod and Dave, how do you see, your role as a technology provider being able to knock down some of those barriers? So Dave, maybe I'll turn to you first.
Yeah, well, I think all of these are very important and they all can be addressed absolutely, certainly from the perspective of the Office of Finance within a nonprofit organization in Canada. A lack of staff, when I look at that, there's a lack of staff and there's also potentially staff burnout who have worked extremely hard to do more with less. And I think it's important to, invest in capacity and thoughtfully address staff burnout in that particular area and giving them meaningful things to do. A lack of financial resources and processes. Once again, if you invest in the technology infrastructure to automate it, what you're going to realize is your staff will do more productive work. They'll add more value, which will allow your nonprofit organization to both increase the quality of the programs that you're delivering in the Canadian marketplace, but also increase the funding and potentially increase the number of programs on there. With conflicting priorities, that's very natural in any organization, nonprofit or for-profit. And I think, if you're looking at making an investment, say in a financial management system, you got to truly understand or work with your partner to understand what the return on investment is. So if you're investing in a financial management solution like Sage Intacct, your annual fee, you should recoup 4 times that in value to your organization. And, I can talk about, what that means, but it really is not only just in increased finance staff productivity, but the return on investment and the productivity gains, are tremendous in a number of different areas. Jarod talks about accounts payable and the automation there, but I've worked with nonprofits who have gone through an audit and it basically paralyzes the organization for 2-3 weeks. Where, in reality, with the modern financial management system, you can literally invite your auditors into your financial management system in a read-only access or print out all of the reports that are needed for the audit. There's also things that are built into Sage Intacct, like artificial intelligence and machine learning services, like anomaly detection, where you can go through the transactions and the journal entries to identify outliers. And that is really automating what a controller would do in trying to identify outliers in your journal entries. And so if it can be automated and you can teach it, the automation, it's human driven, although it's machine learning. Humans make the final decision and they train the machine. And so all of a sudden, once again, that's why I'm so excited about working with nonprofits, but also offices of finance across Canada, because technology is driving their ability to be exponentially more valuable to their organizations. And I've seen it with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of organizations that have modernized in the last 4 years.
That's great. Thanks, Dale. I think the other key point there too, with the, as you brought up the AI and the machine learning, is the usability of the products now, right? You know, the bottom issue there being the IT resources. I think IT resources are becoming less of a barrier now because the systems are so user friendly and the UI experience is so easy. Jared, I just wonder,
Well, Steve,
with using,
maybe I'll ask you a question. Maybe you can recite what users of financial management systems have told organizations like G2. Maybe you can share with the audience where Sage Intacct ranks from a customer
oh,
satisfaction standpoint.
I think according to the G2 stats, I think Sage Intacct ranks in the top one or two. I think every time G2 releases those surveys, and I'm sure, Jared, I think the G2 ratings for use as well are quite high. So
Yeah, I think mention the IT staff there, right? From a use perspective, when you have Sage Intact, the only thing the IT team in most not-for-profits, though, there's a Sage Intact administrator that may not even be an IT. There's a web API user that gets created like that. That's it. So a lot of times IT doesn't even have to get engaged, which then can knock that barrier down and get you moving forward. But lack of staff is really the number one reason, I think that we see. But that's where solutions like Intact and Use really come in. We help you overcome that lack of staff issue that you have, because I don't see that going away at any point. We're seeing fewer and fewer of the next generation, coming into university and graduating with, accounting degrees. And, even though the next generation is focused on more mission driven, kind of culture, like they want to make an impact into the world, a lot of them don't see accounting as that kind of way to do it, even though accounting has such a huge aspect into how not-for-profits can actually get the work done and get the missions completed and get the programs out there. But companies like Sage and Use, this is really where we focus, is this lack of staff. We help you take that barrier and knock it down and be able to do what you need to accomplish.
that's
Yeah,
great.
and
Yeah,
Steve, in
absolutely.
fact, according to G2, what our users and the other financial management or accounting solutions users are telling G2 is, in the nonprofit sector, Sage Intacct is ranked number one in customer satisfaction. So you combine that with Gartner Group's ranking Sage Intacct as number one in core capabilities, with the ability of BAASS Business Solutions to work with nonprofits across Canada and to do the implementation and help nonprofits efficiently through the digital transformation journey. I think that is a winning combination.
Absolutely, Dave. Couldn't agree more. I just wanted to change gears a little bit here and talk a little bit about donor behavior. So we did see the previous slide. Their financial constraints are still top of mind. It's a barrier that needs to be overcome, which you're going to do in one of two ways. You're going to either increase donations or you're going to reduce your costs. So what we see here, is the reasons for large institutional donations. Again, just interested to, a little bit of feedback here on what you guys are seeing in terms of, how can you help, as organizations are looking to grow that donor base? Is there different aspects of the different products that can really have an impact on the finance team here? Dave,
Yeah,
maybe
Yeah,
go ahead,
go
David.
ahead. No, Jerry, you go first,
All
please.
right. So I think from the use side, the biggest one when we talk for non-for-profits is they're looking to give transparency and visibility and have a very extremely easy way to create reporting on where the dollars go. So especially for corporations that are giving, they want to know where's that dollar being spent. And so that's where a platform like Sage Intacct and Use coming together can give that visibility to donors, so that way they can measure it and really understand, hey, like, it's not just dollars, it's actually delivering something, right? What is being delivered? They can see it, they can feel it, and they can really feel like they're a part of something there.
Yeah, so just to add to what Jarod just said, I think it's very important for a nonprofit in Canada to make a connection. To obviously they have strong missions, but also what is the impact? What is the work they're doing? And to be able to be an effective storyteller of the value that's being driven to communities and societies and disenfranchised and the myriad of different micro verticals within this sector. The other thing, when you're looking at donors, I think it's also very important to take a very targeted approach and to really focus in on understanding your donors. I mean, clearly, if you're looking at government as a funding source, there's a way to do that. If you're looking at cause marketing and connecting with different corporations, do your homework wisely and add value when you're talking to them, but connect with relevance, to something in there. It's a great source. And then I think the other part, and they talked, one of the things was the youth. I think it's important to create youth engagement. Both my kids, when they were in high school, they worked with nonprofits. One of them is now graduated and is working with a nonprofit. But engage with youth. Generation Z are clearly the most empathetic of many of the generations that preceded them. And I think Generation Z is also going to be a very important donation fund area. So, and to do that is understanding the trends in fundraising. So take a mobile first approach to engagement. And the Generation Z, I do know that my daughter, will on a monthly basis out of her paycheck, she gives, money to two different charities. It's just an automatic thing. And she's been doing that for the last couple of years. So it is a powerful way. And there's a lot of great organizations across Canada to engage with. Imagine Canada, Canada Helps, Charity Intelligence. There's a lot of great sources of information to connect with, and been fortunate to deal with all of them.
I think one other piece to add to that is that Generation Z, right? They also grew up around technology. So technology's been just a critical impact into their life. And so they're looking to align with groups that embrace technology as well, because that's where they've always been. My brother is considerably younger than me, and the first question he always asks me is, so what is technology doing for your groups, like what for your clients, for your not-for-profits? What is the technology doing? Because that's always been kind of what he's grown up against and what he's always been a part of, and what's really builds into this new culture that they're going through right now. So
Yeah, absolutely. I think, there are definitely some similarities between when we look at the individual donors here as well, but then when we go and we look at the elements that we include, in that story that the different not-for-profits are telling, I think it really bears out like what you were saying, Jarod. You need to include some of these things here, like the video and the images to really resonate with the younger generation. So if we
Yes,
just
and
move on,
don't forget the power of video.
absolutely. I think it started with a picture is worth 1,000 words. I'm not sure how many words a video is worth, but I think quite a few.
22 frames a second.
So if we look now, in terms of really improving that return on mission investment, I think, one of the keys here for a lot of organizations is deciding, what percentage of those donor dollars should we invest in different, modernization, digitalization products. So with that, we'll ask our next poll question here, just in terms of get a sense of how much are they investing in these sorts of technologies. If we just close that, and if we just look at the broader survey here, we can see that again, a good percentage are spending less than that 20%. So I guess my question, Dave, really to you would be, how should a CFO and controller or an executive director, look at these digital investments, and in terms of an ROI, how should they be judging those metrics, and what should they be looking for?
So I think every nonprofit I've spoken to really understands the value of a dollar, and which is good. They also, I think, anytime you're going to be making an investment, for the future, it should be a wise investment that has been well researched, and each organization does its due diligence. If you're talking specifically about the Office of Finance, and when I talk about digital transformation and people, process, and technology, you want to put your people in the best position to be successful, to have an ability to have automated processes for them. You want the process, yes, to be automated, but not just automating manual processes, but you have an opportunity to rethink how you are delivering as an Office of Finance the value that you're delivering to your nonprofit organization. And so some of the things that our customers, our nonprofit customers, are telling us about, across Canada, about their modernization journey to Sage Intacct from either QuickBooks or Blackbaud or Microsoft, other products, but they have migrated and modernized to Sage Intacct. And this is what they're telling us, that they've accelerated the monthly close by 40% and the budget cycle by 30%. They've slashed the monthly close by 75%, the workload. They're saving 200 hours annually on accounts payable. They're avoiding 60 hours annually on consolidations and reporting. Board reporting is cut from 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 2 minutes. Improved budget accuracy by 30%. And cutting the month-end reporting by 70-80% as well. So going from 14, 15 days to close the book to having a 1-day close or a continual close, within these modern systems. And so when you look at all of that return on investment, I mean, it really, it's something you have to look at and understand it, and understand the journey as well. And this is where BAASS is very important, in helping Canadian nonprofits through that journey. And I know the work that you guys do, and the focus you have on customer success, and really delivering the right solution to them, whether it's a financial management system, or whether it's a hosted system, or whether it's a CRM system, or whether it's some of the BAASS intellectual property. It really is. You guys are really doing great work, so thank you for that.
Thanks, Dave. Yeah. So one of the things that you want to pick up on, a lot of the things you were saying, is it really reduces time that finance departments spend. And I found there's a great piece of research that used it in a survey, of organizations across North America and verticals, where Jarod, like you guys were really focused in on how much time do people spend doing accounts payable, and it really blew me away here with just how much time is in there. So I'm wondering if you could just talk to us a little bit about, these results, and kind of what an organization could expect, in terms of time savings, if they implement something like Use.
Yeah, I think this is kind of a hidden factor, right? Time is the hardest thing to report on. And so when you really start getting into where the time is being spent, when you're able to say, hey, it's over 100 hours, 50 to 100 hours, that's a lot of time that an individual is using when it comes to entering these AP bills. And what Use clients are seeing is roughly that 4 to 5x return on the number of hours that are actually being utilized. Because we've had NFPs that say, hey, I had 4 or 5 people, putting in these invoices. Now I have one person that can do it. That type of return is invaluable, because then what can you do with 3, 4 people being able to do whatever you need them to do now? Like what mission do you want them a part of? What program do you want them jumping into? Where do you need them to provide more value? That's where a product like Use can really jump in and make an impact in your mission.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So we got just a few minutes left. So I'm just curious, Jarod and Dave, what kind of your closing thoughts and advice that you would give to any NFP finance leaders that are out there that are looking to either start or move forward on their digital transformation journey. So Dave, maybe I'll go with you first.
Just quickly, from my standpoint, a heartfelt thanks to the Canadian nonprofits across the country, the ones that are not only on this call, but may listen in after. Thank you very much for the work that you're doing for the Canadian society. It really is invaluable, and helping so many people in need. I've shared a lot of my experience. I'm based in Toronto, but I've worked with nonprofits right across all the provinces and territories in this great nation, and would be happy to spend time with any nonprofit, sharing some of the things that I've seen and some of the things I've learned over the last 3 years. But with change comes opportunity, and technology is a tremendous disruptor, and I use the term disruption in a very, very positive way. And the more the Office of Finance can learn what is possible, what is available to them by way of financial management, automating various processes, accounts payables, receivables. You'll be very pleasantly surprised at what is available and the cost it's available at. I mean, these solutions are built and priced for Canadian nonprofits and look at it. But from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much for what you guys are doing out there.
Yeah, I'll echo Dave's thank you because I mean, really, not-for-profits, they're the ones that really drive our society forward, right? And so just thank you for everything that y'all are doing. I think the quick piece I can give you is don't make the journey alone. Find a partner you can trust, and I think that's exactly where BAASS and Sage Intacct are. Like they're fantastic partners that Use works with on a day-to-day basis. They're great people, great groups, and they want the best for you and for your mission. So I would highly recommend BAASS and Sage Intacct, of course.
Thanks, Jarod. Yeah, and I just, again, I'll echo that thank you to everyone, and also sort of extend the offer. If there's anyone in the audience that is interested in, a free technology assessment, please reach out to your BAASS consultant. We're more than happy to walk you through different options that are available to you to see what's right for your organization. Now, I just think we'll open it up to Q&A. If there's anyone that has any questions, feel free to put those into the chat, and we'll take a look at those. So we'll give that.
Yeah, well, there's questions coming up. Steve, I'll just give a big shout out to the nonprofit value assessment program that BAASS has put together. As you know, I've been fortunate enough to participate with various nonprofits and see BAASS in action delivering on that. I mean, it's painless for the nonprofit you're dealing with, and the value they get out of it, is immeasurable. And as you mentioned, you're offering it complimentary, to the people that are attending the session. So that would be a big part of my advice for people here is take Steve and BAASS up on that offer.
All right, I don't see any questions coming in. I know we are at time, so I'll just like to kind of wrap things up. Again, thank you to Dave Rumer from Sage Intacct. Thank you to Jarod Moss from Use for being part of the discussion today. Anyone in the audience, feel free to reach out to us, either visit us on the website, send us an email. I think we might have one late question coming in. If we could provide contact information, absolutely, we'll reach out to everyone after the webinar and provide contact information for your local representation. There is representation across Canada, so no matter where you are, we'll have someone that's close by. So great. Again, thank you, gentlemen, and everyone, have a good rest of your day.